throws. He lays out and makes the catch.
And we are back for another episode of the Double Switch Podcast. My camera's working, so we're already off to a better start than last time. We'll see how long that lasts. Hopefully we can make it through the whole episode this time. But good to be back. Fun week, kind of. It's one of those weeks that you'll just forget about when the season's over. You have a lot of those weeks in baseball. It's one of those sports where you really don't remember what happens most of the time, and that's kind of what happened this week. If we kind of had to narrow it down to one big theme, Bryce Harper is back, and he has not missed a beat. He had an offer against Julio Urias on the first day back, but, most people do. He's really – oh, no. Am I frozen again?
Oh, we're not even a minute in.
Oh, my goodness. How? All right. That stinks. That's crazy.
Oh, my God.
All right. Yes. Anyway, as I was saying, Bryce Harper is man, this is even worse because I'm stuck on that stupid face. Oh, God. Do not get my computer. Bryce Harper, he has not even missed a beat. That guy could just wake up at, in the morning and just hit some of the best pitching in baseball. He's that good. But he hasn't really provided the boost that, we were kind of expecting. He's been consistent. He's been pretty good at the plate, but the team hasn't really picked up like we thought they would. It's a lot of the same. And no, it's just, we're chugging along here, keeping afloat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Josh. Good to be back today. Good to see another frozen face. This is becoming a theme. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this was a week that you just forget about if you're that type of if you know how to be a Phillies fan. You just kind of put this one behind you and never think about it again because it doesn't matter. Yeah, it sucked, and we let up 36 runs in a 3-game series against the Dodgers. But it's May. It's the first week of May. It's not that big of a deal. We're still hovering around 500, and that's what matters. But yeah, it's been great to see Bryce back in the lineup. I mean, that's been the reason I've been turning on the TV.
Yeah, it's been oh, and if you're wondering, I just checked. I do have an update, a Windows update, and hopefully it's going to fix my camera issues. I will update after this episode, I swear. But no, it's been good. Bryce he's just such a professional that the skills that he has are just ingrained in him. You can kind of see it over these past couple of years. The guy really knows where he's at with the bat. There's no more tinkering. There's no more tweaking the swing. He just knows what works for him, and it's going to translate just about everywhere. And it's gotten to the point where I really don't think that we should expect those huge downward spirals, those huge rough patches we used to have from Bryce when he was younger. He just knows how to hit, and he just came back into this lineup and just picked up right where he left off in October and November. And it's crazy, but it's good to have him back, and it's just a pleasant surprise, something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, there's definitely no identity crisis going on with Bryce Harper offensively. He is who he is. He is him, people are saying. I wish we could say that about the rest of our team. I feel like we have a bit of a identity crisis right now with Turner, who's turning the corner. Pun right there. And Schwarby. But, yeah, I wish everyone could just be Bryce Harper.
Yes, speaking of the rest of the players, we've kind of been in an interesting spot so far. No one is hitting at the same time. You kind of started off, you had some of the young guys hitting, Marsh, Stott, Bohm, first couple weeks, and then, Castellanos picks it up, and, the young guys go cold, and it's good because I think that, we're not firing on all cylinders. If everybody does get going at somewhat the same time, this lineup's going to be really dangerous. And even without them doing it, we kind of treaded water lately. But it is frustrating knowing that, all the talent's there, all the tools are there, but it's not clicking yet. same with the rotation. It's just not clicking. Some of the guys you mentioned, Trey Turner, I thought that guy was kind of drought proof. I thought that his tools were completely safe. You know, he didn't really go on these cold streaks like he has. Come to think of it, I really haven't seen much Trey Turner over the past couple of years because he was with the Dodgers. But yeah, I wasn't expecting this. I mean, Schwartz is ice cold, but we've grown accustomed to that. I mean, he's always going to be like that. And you know, we've seen Tomper kind of mess around with the lineup lately, move Schwarber around back into the leadoff spot, put Stott there, just try to get something that's going to get some of the big guys going. And nothing seems to be working so far. But I'd imagine you're kind of on the side of just patience with those guys. They'll figure it out eventually. They're all professionals.
Yeah, I mean, this team sucked at the same point last season. They were a fairly new squad then. We don't have the same exact squad this year. There was a lot of new pieces added. So, of course, it's going to take a couple months to get some chemistry going and kind of get the ball rolling like permanently. Right now, it just feels like it's like a seesaw. I mean, the ball just keeps coming back and forth, and I think eventually they're gonna give it a push, and it's the momentum's just gonna drive some winning baseball consistently. And right now sucks, and I just don't think it's time for. I've seen a lot of the fire Thompson already. That's not going to solve our issues. I don't think people that say that have actually been watching the Phillies the past 10 years. Rob Thompson's is good at not even so much better than anything we've had the past 10 years. That's just an outlandish statement to me.
Yeah. So where are you at on him changing the lineup? I know that based off of what we've talked about, you kind of wanted some stability there. And he has tinkered this past week, and there has been a group of the fandom that is pretty against that. We've actually become pretty divided in terms of who do we want leading off, you know, who do we want batting, you know, cleanup, all kinds of stuff. There's a million ways to go here, but he's not really super consistent with it. I know Bryson was very good there at the beginning of the season, and Schwartz is obviously, you know, the leadoff hitter of the past, you know, 18 months since we signed him for the most part. Do you want him to pick something and stick to it, or do you kind of see where he's coming from with the tinkering here?
I see where Topper's coming from. I mean, if the guys would rake on a consistent basis, then no tinkering would be necessary. But if they're gonna play some shitty games against really good teams, then yeah, we're gonna try some new things and try to shake up the offense. I mean, that just feels like common sense to me.
Yeah, what would you, if you were the manager, what would you be throwing out there every night now that Bryce is healthy? I know this was going to be a topic that we would have to get to eventually, but the question is, like, what is the best lineup going forward? And I mean, which side do you kind of lean on in terms of, especially at the top, leadoff, and especially following up Bryce in the 3 spot?
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty. I've always been kind of.
Looks like I kind of got you in the gray zone here.
Yeah, you kind of did, actually, because I've always been okay with Schwarber because I know that he's going to strike out 30% of the time, and that tends to leave runners on base, and I don't love that in the 4 spot and the 5 spot sometimes. But Bryson Stott, I love that guy, and he's just too good of a hitter. He's got too good of an approach to not be hitting in the top 2. So, yeah, I think it's going to have to be Stott, number 1 going forward. And probably Schwarber in the 5. Probably go Stott, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber.
Yeah, you know, I kind of would have to go a different way with that because you touched on it, the boomer bust nature of Schwarber. It works in the leadoff spot, and I've come to this conclusion lately. In the leadoff spot, if you hit a home run, you know, it's a bonus. But if you strike out, there's usually nothing at stake, you know, because you're in the leadoff spot, runners aren't on.
Exactly.
So in terms of that position in the lineup, it kind of plays well to a player that's either, you know, hitting bombs or striking out. If you put that player in the cleanup spot, yeah, you either have a grand slam, but you also have, you know, the bases loaded and strikes out with 2 outs. And the stakes are always a lot higher there in the run-producing roles. So I do see the argument for Bryson, but I mean, that guy could probably hit anywhere in the lineup because he's just a tough out, and I trust him to do just about anything that we're going to ask of him. But Schwarbs he's useless unless he's lead off because it's frustrating the runners in scoring position problem that we've kind of had for a couple of weeks now. Schwarber's he's a part of that, and no one's going to say that because he's the lifeblood of the team, and we know how hot it can get. But it has hurt us in the past, so it's tough. It's a tricky question. I definitely
frankly, both sides are a great argument. They both make sense. When you look into I know people are just so critical of Schwarber just because of his profile as a baseball player, the low 200s, 30+% strikeout rates, and these streaky times. But we've broken it down these past 2 episodes. It's almost better to have 2 leadoffs, have a Schwarber and a Turner. If Schwarber strikes out, it's not the end of the inning, which is not the case sometimes if he's in the middle of the lineup and in the middle of a rally or something like that. So I think if you're a rational fan, you should see both sides of this. I mean, there are 2 legitimate arguments for Stott and Schwarber.
Did I just sway you? I think I just swayed you.
I would honestly, I've had no issues with them flip-flopping it. I don't understand what the outcry's been.
Yeah, speaking of the outcry, I hear you on the Tomper stuff, and he is incredibly calm and cool and collective. The problem is sometimes, especially in a very emotional city, the fans are very emotional here. Sometimes they like the fire where, the manager gets on and he kind of, sends a message. Charlie used to do it sometimes too, where you kind of get vocal and you start criticizing certain aspects of the team. Nothing personally or, nothing too super serious, but the fans do like to see that emotion. And Tomper, I like the calm, cool, and collective, but it's pretty annoying sometimes when you go on a 5-game losing streak and he gets up there and he's like, "Yeah, we're all right. We're going in the right direction. The guys will figure it out." He's right. He's 100% right. Sometimes just not what I want to hear. I want to hear. Bryce has gotten very good at this. That kind of read towards the specifically Philadelphia fans. Bryce gets up there, this is unacceptable. We have to be better. They expect more of us. Something along those lines. Tomper's just don't worry, guys. We're going to figure it out. The guys got this. And it's true, but it's not necessarily what I want to hear sometimes. Does that make sense?
No. Well, yeah, it makes sense. But that's kind of I don't like that because if this was a team full of rookies, then sure, let's have an emotional manager that hollers every time they play bad. But we have a team of a bunch of former All-Stars, a couple former playoff regular season MVPs. They don't need a coach that's going to come hollering at them every single time they lose a game. It's just not necessary. These guys are all very accountable. They're not trying to play bad baseball.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're definitely right in terms of that. And you kind of see that with the players sometimes. The players sometimes pick up the mantle and do that on Tomper's behalf. I specifically Bryce last week when we lost to we lost to the Dodgers, and Schwarbs has done that before. We do have those voices, but I see where they're coming from in terms of that. But you're right. You do have to look at this team and who we're throwing out there. These guys have been here for a long time, and they know exactly what they're doing. They don't need to be reminded how they're playing and the outcome of what's going on. But that's kind of just been the performance this week. On the pitching side, at what point are you going to be concerned that this is just going to be the pitching staff that we kind of got? I'm waiting on both Wheeler and Nola to throw off a couple quality starts in a row. Was kind of expecting it to kind of happen after the Astros series where they pitched really well. But it's this teetering going back and forth. And I don't know what it is. Wheeler's stuff seems to be okay, according to Savant Page. Nola is just not getting the swings and misses he used to. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, it could be a number of things. And Taijuan Walker is probably the most volatile pitcher I've ever seen in my life. It's not the It's actually you and I texted about this week. Zach Eflin, who's having a terrific start of the season with the Rays. Um, the thing about Zach Eflin, going back to his time here, he wasn't he wasn't going to throw up like those 7 inning 10K starts. But do you ever remember Zach Eflin just getting destroyed? Whereas he went out there for 2 innings and gave up like 7 runs. I don't remember that.
Not performance wise, but physically.
Oh yeah, physically. I mean, he would just destroy his knees every time he pitched.
Fall
But
apart.
no, he was Walker at his best is probably better. But Eflin was really consistent.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of something that we're kind of lacking right now. It's interesting watching Eflin get off to the strong start while we're kind of having this boomer bust staff. Are you concerned at all that the consistency has just not been there, and it doesn't even show signs of picking up? Really, I mean, no one's really putting it together.
No, it's super concerning. I mean, we knew Taijuan Walker was going to be like a generous 3, more of a 4 type starter in this rotation. But I mean, we're seeing small regressions out of Wheeler and Nola this season, and we haven't even seen Ranger yet. So yeah, I'm really concerned. I don't see a guy in our rotation that would scare an opponent. Like the guys just don't want to face that guy one night. I think everyone is hittable in this rotation at the moment.
Yeah, Rangers back this week, I think.
Yeah, the Colorado series this weekend.
Yeah, so he's one of those stabilizing pitchers from last year. He doesn't really get blown up when things go poorly, so that will be some much needed relief. Bailey Falter, it's tough watching Matt Strom go to the bullpen while Bailey Falter's still here. I mean, he did not earn that spot at all. He's doing everything he can to actually lose the spot. Bailey's been terrible. Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't see you. This is kind of tricky. But yeah, I just see your mouth open. I'm like, I guess he's still talking. But I guess it was the Matt Strom pitch limit. That's what they're worried about.
Probably. I mean, I don't know how many innings he pitched last year, but it wasn't even close. I mean,
I heard he already surpassed half of last year's innings in the first month.
Yeah, no, his arm would not hold up if we tried to throw him out there for 30 starts. Do you think that they're doing this with the intention of using the rest of those innings in the bullpen, or do you think the Matt Strom experiment isn't over yet? It's tough.
I think they're going to get clever with it, and I think they're going to keep him in the bullpen and kind of limit his innings, and then I think he's going to find himself back in this role later in the season.
Yeah, he's we see the Rays do it a lot. They use openers and they're pretty effective at it. And I mean, there's no better candidate for an opener than Matt Strom. I mean, get him out there, throw 2-3 innings one time through the lineup, and it'll probably work. It's not the flashiest plan ever, but I mean, we're throwing Bailey Falter out there every 5th day, whose ERA is north of 5. And I mean, if you were to guess his ERA, you'd probably just assume it was even higher than that because it's not been fun watching him pitch. And between Bailey just stinking it up in the 5 spot and Taijuan Walker, either going 6 innings of shutout baseball or 3 innings and 10 runs. Back in the rotation sorely needs Ranger. And more importantly, Ranger really needs to stay healthy because we really need him at this point badly.
Yeah. I'm going to say keep an eye on Mick Abel.
Yeah. Mick he's tearing it up in Double-A, isn't he?
He's having a really good start to the season, and our need for a guy like him has never been higher. We really need a guy like him in the rotation right now.
Yeah, the greatest blessing for Mick Abel is the fact that Andrew Painter kind of became who Andrew Painter is. Mick Abel had to deal with the first round pitcher for the Phillies in 2022 or 2020. He was a first round pick. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. But as soon as he kind of, he got 1 year under his belt, Painter showed up, and Painter took all the attention away from Mick Abel. All the pressure, everything that comes along with being a first round pick. Andrew Painter, Yeah, he demanded all of that, and I mean, deservedly so. Andrew Painter's insane. But now Mick Abel can kind of blend in the background and just do what Mick Abel can do. And that's people forget that Mick Abel is a first round talent. This guy has ace upside, and most farm systems only have one of these guys. We have two. Andrew Painter's still banged up; he's thrown again, but Mick Abel can be that anchor for a rotation too. And I wouldn't be surprised if specifically early on in their careers, Mick Abel generates a lot of hype and ends up kind of being an anchor in the staff too. He's that good.
Yeah, especially being able to throw him in like a 5 spot, like right off, like doesn't have to like jump into the middle of the rotation. I mean, barring health, our top 4 seems to be locked in with the Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Taiwan.
Yeah, definitely. So mix in Double-A now. I'd imagine they're not going to pull him up from Double-A to the majors, so he's probably looking at trip. You think that's a big jump for a pitcher?
I don't think the talent level is that big of a difference between Double and Triple-A.
Yeah. If I had to guess, though, I'd probably say they pull him up Triple-A first.
Yeah.
And you're kind of looking at that soon at this point. I mean, he's really shown all he needed to at Double-A, and Triple-A is on the horizon. So yeah, no, definitely keep an eye out for Mick Abel. And yeah, I hope for better days for the staff, because the worse the staff is, it's going to seep into the bullpen, and the bullpen's going to be worse because there's more pressure on them. You look at Nola the other day blowing the 5-run lead. That goes from a bullpen game where you can use some of your lower leverage arms, stretch out the game, but you have to bring in Alvarado, and you have to start using some of those high leverage guys who already pitch a ton. We saw Bilotti. He's already on the IL because we just abused him the first 2 weeks because he was like the only guy who could get outs. And if you rely on your bullpen that much, it's going to keep happening to guys. And this weaponized bullpen that we have right now, it's gonna get thin pretty fast. So better the rotation is, the better it is for the bullpen, and just better it is for everybody, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely taking a toll. You can even it's a downer for the offense too, just to be put in a hole like right away. No one likes that. I mean, it just sucks. I mean, digging yourself out of. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have like had a shitty freshman semester or something like that. Digging yourself out of stuff kind of sucks. So it's always good to play with a lead, and the rotation is a big part of that. They need to be a steady presence, at least the first 3 innings, let the guys get it going. But I don't want to dwell too much on the past week. Josh, can you give me a key to the next week? What has to go right this week for us to get back on track?
All right, I'm going to kind of take I know where you're asking me to go here. I'm going to take a step back and
go for it.
Just for the next several weeks, a key for us, and you kind of can look across baseball. You can look at the Braves, the Mets. Injuries are bad this year, dude, and I can testify in terms of my fantasy team, which has been a disaster. I don't think we need to talk about that.
You shouldn't.
Injuries are just terrible. This team needs to stay healthy. Specifically, the arms need to stay healthy, because you look at the Braves, Max Fried just goes on the IL. Kyle Wright's shoulder is all messed up. That's 2/4 of their big 4 that they had coming into the season. Scherzer up in New York his season's just gone off the rails.
Oh, it's so bad.
I can testify to that because he's on my fantasy team. Between the shoulder, which was the first couple weeks, the suspension, and now something's wrong with the shoulder again. That staff is having all kinds of issues. They just got Verlander back. Sandy Alcantara down in Miami's having bicep problems, and he's the most durable pitcher in baseball.
That's Aaron Nola, bro.
It's serious. It might be Aaron Nola at this point, but
it is.
Knock on wood. Health is going to probably win this division, and whoever can stay the healthiest might be the last one standing. And it's going to be tough because it's a long season, and it just seems like injuries are finding people in the worst ways. I have Acuna on a fantasy team, and he's left like several games. Seager with the hamstring. I mean, it's just a disaster. I don't know.
when you speed up the frequency of a game of guys have been playing for 25 years of their lives, I mean, injuries can happen.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we need to not
specifically
let them
to pitchers.
We need to not let them happen to us. So that's my big key. That's my big key is health. Where would you kind of go with that?
I'd say patience. I think patience is what you're going to need with this team. If you want to follow them all year and you don't want to lose your mind, I think there's going to be bad in May. I don't think the bad's over, but I think the summer months are going to be a lot of fun, and I think they're really going to get the ball moving. So yeah, I guess my key is more for us fans than the team, but I guess, for the players too. Just stay patient in their approach. Everyone's a good baseball player. They haven't forgotten how to play baseball. It's just a little slump. Keep on keeping on, and I think we'll get right back on track.
Well said. So we have Blue Jays currently and tomorrow, a 2-game series with the Blue Jays. And then we go to, I think we go to Denver and we play the Rockies at Coors, which is, I'm a big fan of that stadium. I always like when we go to Colorado. It's a fun place for baseball. And hopefully we can kind of beat up on the Rockies. And now that I said that, we're probably going to get swept. But no, good week. Need to at least split this week and go 3-3. But it's a very doable week. I mean, we're already up now in the Blue Jays, and big picture, I think we're in 4th place now, but it's not a super serious 4th place. Braves are kind of running away with it early, but they're running into some injuries, and the wild card is completely within reach. I mean, we're two and a half games out right now, and it's still so early that we're in a good spot. Patience, health, it's all going to be keys. But you got anything else?
I'm still not concerned, and that's all I got. Go tune into the Sixers tonight and check out the Pick Swap podcast. These guys have been on it. The Sixers series has been electric so far. I believe it's about halftime right now in the Celtics game, so got to bring that one home so we can win it in Philly in 2 days.
Ditto to everything he said, and as always, thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next week.